Hey everyone, welcome to A Mess Nonetheless. I am Rachel.
And I'm Melissa, and we are sisters. And it is early in the morning for us, well, especially for Rachel. So normally we record like after kids get off to school and maybe before lunch, maybe after lunch, kind of depends. And both of us basically didn't sleep last night.
Correct.
I was up at 6 my time, but that was for Rachel's time. So she definitely was not up. So she was up by 5:30 her time. And we're like, you know what, let's just hop on. So she texts me a picture and she goes, I actually don't look too bad. Thanks for permanent makeup. And I was like, I better put some temporary makeup on.
You were like, I look terrible. I was like, me too. But I hadn't actually looked at myself. And then I sent a picture. I was like, actually, I don't look that bad. Permanent makeup is awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was wash day
permanent
yesterday.
Makeup going on. And I definitely need to do that because
my hair is
wash day. This is 1825.
I wash my hair like once every 8 days. I wash my hair like once every 8 days, and I washed it yesterday. It's a big deal. Okay.
Yes,
my hair's
I do that too, but I don't call it wash day because that sounds like you're getting the tub out and filling it up.
That's funny. All my friends call it wash day.
Oh, really?
The ones who take a long time before they wash their hair. Yeah.
Okay. Those of you who wash your hair like once or twice a week, do you call it wash day? Yeah, that seems old fashioned to me.
Who cares?
I don't know. It's early. We didn't sleep. We're probably a little slap happy this morning.
That's true. Oh my
gosh.
I
am drinking coffee out of my Mess Nonetheless mug. I don't drink coffee very often, but I do almost every time we record, I'm realizing. Isn't that funny? I don't know why it goes together for me.
I have noticed that.
Yeah.
I literally having coffee together.
Yes. I think, it's like, I just have gotten into a habit of I don't ever want it for caffeine. Caffeine does not make me feel energized or good. It like can actually make me feel yucky if I drink too much of it. And it definitely never helps me like have energy. So, but I don't know. It's like comforting. So anyways, hi everyone.
Hi.
Let's see how this goes when we have had hardly any sleep.
Also, for those of you watching, I'm sitting outside because there are like 6 people sleeping in my house. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this without waking all of them up.
Yeah.
But I went in my backyard and we have a ton of trees, which is great. The birds are really loud. And then I tried like a different location and it wouldn't let me charge my computer. And it was at like 16%. So now I'm sitting on my front patio.
Yeah.
On a couch with my legs up.
I would be jealous that you're sitting outside, except for that we slept with our windows open last night because it was 70 degrees here.
It's about dang time for you guys.
Yep. Last week in Minnesota, we reached like our record snowfall for the year. Like, for like in years and years and years, I think we've had like 100 feet. I'm pretty sure that's not right, but it feels
100 feet.
And then yesterday it was over 70 degrees. Like, oh, thank you, Lord Jesus. Okay.
Here we go. What are we talking about today?
We are going to talk about when we get our feelings hurt. So, there's so many things we could say about this because I don't believe that nobody, okay, I'm going to say this backwards. I believe that every single person listening gets their feelings hurt.
Correct.
No matter how strong you are, no matter how selfless you are, no matter how healthy you are in your mindset, no matter how much you know your value in Jesus and that your value in your family and your value in life. Like, I just really believe that this is something that every single person, man or woman, can tap into. Agreed?
Yep. I absolutely agree. And I think that the people who might go, no, I don't think I get my feelings hurt. That just means they haven't dug deep enough.
Yeah. I think it means you might just ignore your feelings.
Exactly. Because I did that for a long, long time. And I was like, I really don't get my feelings hurt until I started tapping into my feelings and was like, son of a bee, I get my feelings hurt all the time.
Yeah.
I just ignore them. And that actually is not a good thing.
No, pushing your hurt feelings aside. So I feel like there's 2 unhealthy ways of handling hurt feelings. One is pushing them aside and pretending they don't exist. And the other is letting them take over and dominate your life.
Yeah. And then there's somewhere in between.
Yeah. So somewhere in between is what we want to chat about and encourage and hope that we are also at that place in our life where we're somewhere in between.
Over there? What are you messing with? Yeah. What are you messing with?
Sorry. Can you hear it?
No.
I'm just watching. My earbuds, whatever these things are called. It's like all tangled up and it's irritating me. It's distracting me. Sorry.
Listen, I'm too tired to be distracted by your distraction.
I will stare at the computer. Hi.
All right. So Melissa, you get your feelings hurt.
Yeah. So feelings getting hurt. I mean, that they can get hurt by obviously big things. If people straight up say mean things to you.
Right.
Obviously, if someone's like, you're an ugly, fat fool. Well, that would be hurtful. I would not like that.
But I left elementary school. That probably isn't the norm.
I would hope not. Although I know that there are some, I know some adult toxic relationships where the things that married people say to each other can be really, really mean.
Oh
And
man.
which makes me very sad, obviously. And those
Right.
are legitimate reasons to have your feelings hurt. So
Right.
when we're going to talk about how to deal with hurt feelings, we don't mean those things. We don't mean things where like the person is like a narcissist or like abusive at you. Like
Oh,
we're
right.
always going to go down that road of if like, cause there are extremes in every situation and we
Right.
never want our middle ground of what we're talking about
Right.
for someone to grab onto that in their extreme case and be like,
And
well,
stay
I guess
in
when my
unhealthy.
husband tells me that I am fat or swears at me that and he hurts my feelings, that's okay. Like that's
Right.
not what we're advocating for.
No.
So
Good to
clarify.
distinguish that or
Yeah.
clarify that. Yeah. Okay. So we're just talking about things
Kind
like
of,
not being
yeah.
invited to something or
Yeah.
being excluded or just like, I mean, obviously that's a little bit FOMO, which that is FOMO, which we've talked
Mhm.
about, but people, saying like, oh, I don't know.
So
I'm like,
yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk about some examples. So something that could hurt my feelings just in my home is when my teenagers kind of can sometimes act like I'm not funny or I'm just mom or
rude.
oh, you kind of
They're
like
dumb.
just yes,
I
kind of
hope they
just
listen and their feelings are hurt. Just kidding.
I'm
We
trying
know
to
they
hurt
aren't
their
listening.
feelings. No, like they can just, moms can just kind of
Yeah.
be blend into the background for their
Right.
kids, even though their kids need them, even though their kids love them.
Right.
And the dad can walk in the room and it's like, Dad. And it's like, then they have like all these things to say with their
Oh,
dad and play around with
yeah.
their dad and laugh with their dad. That can hurt my feelings. I know
That
it's
would hurt my feelings
normal.
too.
Yeah. I know
Poor
it's a normal
Joey.
thing.
I'm the dad in that situation. But he hurts their feelings on accident all the time. And I think
All the
that's
time.
why.
I
Also,
do not.
do your laugh again. You need to adjust your gain.
Oh, brother.
Oh, brother. It's on the other side. You can't see it.
I forget what it's supposed to be at. Hold on.
I don't either. But if I can't hear you laughing, we got a problem. Nope.
Oh, it's because I muted myself.
Oh, I heard you laugh.
So you could hear nothing.
I was like, wow, I really can't hear anything.
Not hear me.
That's so
when I
funny.
muted it, like goes more quiet in my ear. And so
Yeah.
I was like, I can hardly even hear myself. And I'm right here.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so that would hurt your feelings.
So that would hurt your feelings. Let's say, man, it's so funny because I feel like this is such a normal, common thing. And now I'm having a hard time like coming up with actual examples.
I know, me too.
As
It's
are
because
you.
it's so early.
It is early. So Rachel, you said when you started acknowledging your feelings, you realize you get your feelings hurt a lot. And obviously these can twist into things like FOMO, but let's just make them for what it is. And that's hurt feelings. So can you think of a few situations in the last year or 2 or 3 that you've been really acknowledging your feelings?
Yeah.
What has hurt your feelings?
Yeah. Well, okay. So Hannah, who was on recently, her and I both speak at our church, and we're both very good friends with our pastor. He's awesome. And I went to him before my surgery and said, hey, any chance you think I'm going to be speaking in October or November? He said, no, I'm all good through November 16th. And then like 3 weeks later, Hannah came to me and was like, will you pray for me? I'm going to be speaking on November 6th. And Scott gave me permission to speak on anything. My feelings were hurt.
Yes, exactly.
The truth
Even though
is,
it had nothing to do with you. It hurt your feelings. Yes.
Scott probably had been planning to ask her the whole time and like had her slotted, or he maybe already asked her and she hadn't come and asked me to pray for her. My feelings were hurt.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, it's a little dumb, but also important to recognize, why are my feelings hurt? Feelings, I feel like she was chosen over me.
Yeah.
Well, when I came down to it logically, like we both speak the same amount.
Right.
And I probably had spoken before that, like more than her, like the most recent before that.
Yeah.
But like my feelings were hurt, and it was like I had to work through that. And I, in the past, I just wouldn't have even acknowledged my feelings were hurt. I would have gone into straight logic mode, and that was me dismissing my feelings. And so now I dislike having my feelings hurt. I mean, nobody likes it, but it is better for me. It's healthier, for me to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Like, when 2 friends ask another friend to go out to dinner, and in theory, I should be in that group. Again, I know it's FOMO, but it's like, oh,
your feelings can be hurt. Yes.
I wonder why I wasn't included in that group. Or a friend invites me to brunch with 2 friends and they're better friends with me. I'm like, how did you end up in that group?
Yeah.
Again, these are all really dumb, but they're
real. I mean, I think this
real.
Well, so like I can get my feelings hurt if someone in my family shares something with one family member, but not me. Like I can be,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's my side of the family or Bill's side of the family.
Jonathan sends me a funny text.
Yeah.
You
So
didn't
if one
get
of our
it.
brothers engages with Rachel differently, like in a way that I'm like, wait, why didn't I get that? Or if like my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law have a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
totally acceptable. But I can find that can hurt my feelings sometimes. Like, so I'm feeling like examples are starting to come to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Even things like whether this is me or not, these are things that I've heard other people say too, is let's say you have a friend who is legitimately, you know that they love you, you know that you're important, but they've had legitimate reasons that they've had to cancel on you
Mm-hmm.
multiple times in a row, especially.
Mm-hmm.
That can hurt your feelings, right?
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
we had that.
you and I
Yeah.
together, yes, exactly,
And I was
years
like,
ago.
I had all this grace for your situations, but at the end of the day, my feelings were hurt. And it's like, I feel like I don't matter because you just keep canceling on me. And you
Yeah,
had valid reasons
yeah,
most of the time, but it's
yeah.
like it hurt my
Well,
feelings.
yeah,
And
and
it
I hated the reasons, but yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Another thing that can hurt your feelings is in a work situation, if you feel like you've either been told you're going to get like a promotion
Mhm.
or something
You're gonna
special
be
at work,
chosen
whatever
for
that
something.
is,
Yeah.
you were chosen and then you're not, or you just thought that you would be next in line and you're not, like that
Right.
can hurt your feelings.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Well,
there's just go
we
ahead.
helped start a church plant and years ago, and like everyone had, it was all hands on deck. And so I was in charge of cleaning the bathrooms. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's literally like the worst use of my skills. But I was like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not above that. I'll clean the
Mm-hmm.
bathrooms. So every Sunday I would show up and clean the bathrooms before people came.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing I knew, they had like developed a team and I wasn't even on it, nor was I
Yeah.
leading it. And it's not a good use of my skills. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that they knew that, but my feelings were hurt that they didn't even tell me, hey,
Yeah.
I'm not taking this away from you. We just know that we're going to use you for other things.
Yep.
And so here's our team, and you're not, or like I had helped them plan church picnics. And we had a bunch of them because we didn't have a space in the summer. And the next thing I know, someone else is planning the church picnics and like conversations weren't had with me and like my
Yes.
feelings were hurt.
Yep.
And what happens when my feelings get hurt is like my security feels shaken.
Mm-hmm.
You feel the same way,
Mm-hmm.
like in your relationship or in your
Yeah, like suddenly you're doubting what you
yeah,
thought existed. Mm-hmm.
exactly. Like I was told at this church plant, like how valuable I was and how many gifts and skills I had, but then it was like consistently things were being taken away from me and not added to my plate.
Yep.
And it's like nobody was talking to me about it. And then the
Yes.
kind of the final straw was I was on the worship team and I really loved my worship leader. But communication wasn't his best skill. And I sang and played keys. And he was like, we're just going to take you off keys for a while and you're just going to be vocals.
Yes. But
And I
no
was like,
explanation.
no
Mm-hmm.
explanation. And I was like, that's it. Like everyone
Yeah.
doing this to me. And I cried and I was like, I
Yeah.
don't understand. Like if you don't think I'm good enough to do both, I just need you to tell me that. And he was like, what?
Right.
No. He's like,
Yeah.
we just think like we need to hone in on your vocal skills and your keys. And like the way to do that is separate. And he's
Yeah.
like, we see you as like someone we can build up and you can lead.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not what you communicated to me at all.
Right.
But like, I
Yep.
was feeling like, I don't even want to be on this worship team anymore. Like,
Yep.
yeah. It's
years ago, Bill and I were a part of a church where we had gone through Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey, which if you have not done, I highly recommend, no matter what age you're at. And it changed our whole life. And so we brought it to our church and we led it 2 or 3 times there. And we had great numbers, like people loved it. It was, yeah. And then the 4th time it was going to be led, we found out about it because it was in the bulletin being led by another couple. And we were so confused because it never got spoken to us. We never were talked about. And we're like, did we not do a good job? Were we not adequate? Yes, totally shook that confidence. And like it was, and so then we had to go, in order for our feelings to be resolved, we had to go and ask the questions, like what happened here? Why? And the answers were not, I didn't think, valid. And so it was that added to the hurt feelings. And so yeah, we had to definitely deal with that. So obviously you guys are listening to this and I'm sure you're ticking off things in your own head, like, oh, these kind of things hurt my feelings. Oh, something else that can hurt my feelings is I hate when my kitchen is messy. I can kind of handle, I mean, the rest of my house, my kids are at the age where the rest of my house isn't generally real dirty or messy, like little things here and there, but it's not a big deal. Like it's not like toys and things like it used to be.
Right.
But my kitchen can be trashed in 1 second because I have all these teenage boys and
all their friends
don't seem to know how to wipe off the counter or to put things away or to put things in the dishwasher. Like, and one thing that I have talked to my whole family about over and over, I work evenings. So by the time I didn't say nights, but that sounds like overnights. I get home between 9 and 10 most nights. And when I walk into the kitchen and it's trashed and it was clean before I left for work, like that hurts my feelings because I
Yeah.
feel like you didn't care enough about me and what
Right.
I've asked. Pick up after yourself. And now I'm home and either have to come hunt you down and be like, everyone get down here. Like I just got home from work and now I'm yelling at everyone to come down and clean it up, or I have to clean it up myself. So
Right.
there's so many things that can hurt our feelings. Now, a lot of what you and I are sharing, Rachel, is very valid. It's not like we don't have the right to have our feelings hurt, or it's not like our feelings should be indestructible and never be hurt. So that's not what we're saying. What's interesting is Rachel said what was good for her was to learn how to stop being logical in her feelings and letting the feelings and the emotion in. And I know we've talked about Enneagram quite a few times, but so Rachel is a 3. We don't do, you don't know exactly what wing you are, right?
I wing a 2.
You wing a 2. Okay.
The helper.
And I'm oh yes, I did know that. I'm a 4. I have a very, very, very strong 3 wing, which Rachel's a 3. And 4s and 3s are very contradictory. One is very logical and driven and self-propelled and can just kind of take on the world. And the other can be, they're very creative and artistic, but they can be very moody and they can be very emotional and very
sensitive and
very sensitive. They can be dark. Like, I mean, just very, very, very opposite. And I'm like split down the middle. Like it's crazy. And so something I have to balance in myself is I can't always feed into the emotion of it because that can get out of hand, but I also can't always be logical about it because that can get, it's just like I kind of have to let myself feel and then be logic all at the same time. So everyone's going to have to handle their feelings in a different way just based on the way God made us. But the thing that the reason we're talking about,
we can't give everyone a how-to because every personality is so different. I know that's what you're saying, but I want to like say that like we can't, because what works for me isn't going to work for Melissa, isn't going to work for our sister-in-law, isn't going to work for like our mom. Yeah.
But I think what we maybe want to zero in on today is why do we not want to let our hurt feelings get out of control? And how can we maybe sort through them a little bit without them taking us down and shaking our worth and shaking our trust in a relationship? So something that I have learned to do when my feelings are hurt is there are like this group of people that I'm super close to that I trust with everything in me. Like they are the people that, you know, I have bared my soul to. They've walked through the hard things. We have had struggle and we've come through the struggle and we've gotten better through the struggle. Those people, when my feelings are hurt, I just say, hey, I just need to be honest. That hurt my feelings. Did you mean it that way? Like we just talk about it straight up. Rachel and I, some of my best friends, you know, my mom and I, my sister-in-law, my husband, like that kind of thing. Like we just, and my kids, to be honest with you, even though they haven't walked through all the hard things with me, I will be honest with them.
Well, we've talked in the past on different episodes about how like we can't hold people responsible for the things we don't tell them.
Right.
And so like, if we joke at someone's expense and they laughed about it 5 times, like we can't know that the 6th time that story emerges, it's going to hurt their feelings. I mean, sometimes you can read it on someone's face, but it's, if we don't know, like maybe the 4th time hurt the feelings and we didn't know. And then we did it a 5th time. And now the 6th time is, we have to tell one another. I actually thought it was funny, like the first 2 times, and now I don't. It's
so I have a really, it's kind of like a hard example of that. So 2 of my boys, one of my boys has struggled with a few different things over the last 10 years, between school and just decision making. And he's grown so much through the processes, but he struggles to believe in himself sometimes. And he struggles because one of the things is that he got held back when he was in elementary school and he is almost in high school, but that still plagues his mind. And definitely is something that he can feel like he has no worth in. And it's something we've prayed a lot about and talked a lot about, and he's gotten better in probably the last year. And then another incident happened in the past year and a half that was very, very hard. And I'm not going to go into any detail about that, but one of our other boys will tease him about these 2 things, especially in front of like cousins or friends. And the other day, the first boy who's had these issues happen, like just broke down sobbing in a way that he was like, I don't even want to be here anymore. I just want to go be with God. And I was like, where did this come from? And it turned out that his older brother had teased him several times recently. And so we got the other brother was gone. So we called him. I was so mad because I got
my brother and my other brother.
Yeah, exactly. And so we had a conversation with him over the phone, and I was like, I said, did you say these things to him? And he's like, well, yeah, I mean, I was just teasing. Like he is sobbing, saying he doesn't even want to be living anymore. Now, I just, if anyone is panicking about that is something we have Bill and I had a lot of conversation with him about the rest of the night. And he was like, it's not that I want to kill myself. It's just that going and being with God, then everything would be perfect. And so, and I get that is a distinction. And so we are definitely aware of the severity of those kind of, and we told him you can't talk like that unless if you actually are in a place where you are in a really bad place.
Literal, oh my gosh, you guys, there's a bird in my house. In my freaking house.
Oh, I thought it was a child. Oh.
Well, we're back. My son Randy to the day. He got rid of the bird. I apologize. I know to you we didn't leave, but to us we did. So Melissa was talking about something very important. Her son and
what were we talking about again? I was like, oh, just one of my boys not wanting to live anymore. Like, oh, that was really bad.
I'm sorry, you guys. I heard something smack my inside of my window, and I was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "There's a freaking bird in my house."
I saw the curtain move, and I assumed a kid was up and like looking outside.
Okay.
Anyway,
so you talked to the other brother.
We were just saying,
he's sobbing.
So the one was like, well, I was just teasing, and the one who was crying was like, well, it really hurts my feelings. I feel so stupid. And the other brother's like, I mean, he was super apologetic and he felt terrible, but he was like, I had no idea. Like you laugh when I say things, you laugh. And I was like, well, unfortunately, that is something we do. Like a coping mechanism is when we're uncomfortable or hurt. Sometimes we laugh in the moment because we don't know how to respond. And so, and it got to this terrible, terrible point. And so when Rachel says it is our responsibility to let people know when they hurt our feelings, because it's not, they're not going to always know, because especially if their intention was not bad, like usually when we hurt people's feelings, it's unintentionally. And so
yes, exactly,
definitely it's a conversation that has to be had.
Sometimes has to be had.
Yes, sorry, because that's what I was like, I kind of lost with where we were going with all this because of the interruption of the
It's important to know that sometimes these conversations need to be had, like, hey, this isn't going to end and like I'm feeling worse, and in order for this relationship to move forward in healthiness, I have to let you know. And then there's times like with my friend Scott, like I didn't need to tell him it hurt my feelings. He literally did nothing wrong.
Because it was on you.
It was all on me. He didn't do anything wrong. If this was a repeated thing, like, yes, okay, third, fourth time I might go, hey, can we just have a conversation about this? But like, sometimes our feelings are just hurt and we just have to go, suck it up, buttercup, and like, okay, bring your feelings to God. And like, I know where my worth lies, and it is not in the order that I'm asked to speak.
Yes.
And exactly.
Well, and one thing that is so important to do is to think through the intention of the person's heart.
Yes.
Okay. This hurt my feelings, but is that who they are? Like, would they ever intentionally hurt my feelings in this way? And is this a repetitive thing? Is this something? And a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's like, okay, this is just me being overly sensitive. I'm being triggered by something. I've had a terrible day. And then this just kind of added on top, but that has not anything to do with them. Tomorrow, this thing might not hurt my feelings, that kind of thing. And so,
that's
true.
If
we can trust the person and we trust the intentions of their heart, it's really necessary that then we choose to rewrite that narrative in our mind about the hurt feeling. Like, okay, so this friend had to cancel because she is legitimately throwing up again. Like she has a migraine. She is in the ER. A child is hurt, had an anxiety attack or a panic attack, and she needed to take care of them. Her husband just lost his job. I mean, there's so many reasons why we might have to cancel someone. Financially, they can't show up for it because they just had to bring their car in the shop and now they can't go to lunch or whatever. And it's so important to think all that through and be like, okay, that's legitimate. And they would never do, they would much rather spend time with me than be dealing with these problems. And so it's not about me at all. And so I think that's something that we can definitely work through with hurt feelings.
Now, recently I brought an issue to a friend. And the reason it hurt my feelings was because it was something she needed from me for years and years and years. And like, I don't feel like I necessarily get from her, but I haven't had a lot of need for it. And then this one time I did, and I was like, hold on now, how come you need this from me, but I'm not getting it from you? And I prayed about it for a couple of days, processed through it, and did end up talking to her about it. And I was like, one of the things that was really important for me that she hear me say was, I know it's not in your character to hurt me. Like, I know this wasn't on purpose. Like, I need you to know, I know without a shadow of a doubt, if you knew this was going to hurt me, you wouldn't have done it. Correct. Also, it hurt my feelings. And I need you to know moving forward that like, I need you to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really important when we, sometimes we just can not talk to someone because we know their intention, their good intention behind it. But sometimes you still do. but like bringing their character to the front of the matter and going, I
Yes.
know you are not trying to hurt me. This is
Yes.
still does hurt me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that, so many things come back to communication, come back
Yeah.
to seeking God out in it. Like, help me decipher what's happening here. Is this me? Is this them? Is this a legitimate thing? I mean, obviously our feelings are legitimate, so I don't want to ever downplay our feelings, but where they go and what we do with them is where it can get out of control. And so
right. Yeah.
I think that, I
One
just
thing-
think it's really, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just think it's so good as adults to realize that we all get our feelings hurt. Cause I think sometimes as like mature grown women, it's easy to feel silly. At least like that's how I can feel sometimes. It's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, like
I'm being
man up,
ridiculous.
Melissa. Like, yeah, exactly. I feel, in fact, I say those words about myself a lot. I feel like I'm silly and I'm ridiculous. And one of my closest friends, she's like, I really wish you would stop saying that about yourself. She's like, because that does not describe you at all. And yet you say it as if it's a truth. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And it's because like if any of you came to me and said my feelings are hurt about this, I would never be like, that's silly and ridiculous.
You would validate it.
Yep. But when it comes to myself, I struggle to have grace for myself and things like this. And it's like, I should be beyond that because I'm in my mid 40s and I've been working at it for years. And I just think that it's really important to remember that that's never going to happen. We're always going to be working on things till the day we die. And that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be since the world is the way it is. I mean, that's, obviously originally God intended for us to be perfect. That changed real quick. And this is where we're at. So let's just be okay with it.
Right. But I think no matter what our feelings are hurt for or whether they're valid, it's really important that to me that I don't feel better just by talking to another person, because I don't want the other person to just make me feel better. I want my worth to lie in Christ and who I am in Christ. Yeah. And it's like I want to clear things up with the friendship so that for the future it's better. Like with your two boys, like obviously that was important that this not keep happening. But also like for me, I really paused and gone, am I just going to go to this person because I want them to make me feel better? Because like you did that with your church and they didn't make you feel better. They actually made you feel worse.
Right.
And I'm really working on challenging myself. Like, am I just trying to make myself feel better or am I pressing into where my worth lies? And I've been doing a lot of that this last year is like, okay, where does my worth lie as a speaker when my pastor asks her to speak and not me? It doesn't change.
It doesn't change. Exactly.
Who God called me to be and, how often he calls me to speak, that is really God's deal. Like between, and if he only has, let's just say this, Hannah and I mean, we do really speak about the same, but let's just say she spoke twice as much as me.
Right.
Maybe that's because, and Scott's like, I think you're both great speakers. Like, maybe that's because God knows it would not be wise for me or my family. Like my husband is gone every other weekend, like, or every other Sunday. Maybe God knows that like Rachel,
that would be too much.
That would be too much for you. Whereas it's not for her. And so, really questioning that, am I putting my worth in this relationship or in this thing to the point where it is shaken, my worth is shaken. And and that's not healthy. And I have done way too much of that in the last, I would say 5 years, easily, if not longer, let people's opinions of me or when they've invited me or not invited me, like really shake my worth. And that is what God has been working on me so much this last year. It's like,
and that's such an amazing
take everyone and everything away from me. And like my worth does not change.
Right. So that is something, that is something I have been working on, just who I am as a person, being very in tune to my feelings, being very sensitive. That is something I've been actively working on for many, many years because I didn't want my feelings to run away with me. We've talked about that a lot. And recently I had an ex-coworker who, he said terrible things about everyone I worked with, but he said some really terrible things. I found out some really terrible things he said about me, and I didn't like it. I was like, well, that's rude. But it literally did not move me. Like I did not, because I was like, for someone to speak about another person like that, who they really don't even know that well, that's way more on them. And they don't, and everything he's saying about me has nothing to, like, that isn't true. Like what you're saying is not true. But I am telling you, 10 years ago, it would have shaken me to my core, and I would have had to spend weeks really like it would have kept coming up to my mind. Because so here's what happens. What I have experienced is that the enemy knows where I'm vulnerable, and he knows where I'm shaken, and so in those areas he brings it back up, keeps bringing it to the forefront of my mind. Whereas this situation now, because of all the work I've done with God to grow in this area, is he tried a couple times and I was like, just buzz off. Like I'm not even going there. And then it's like, then he just stops battling at me about that specific thing. Cause why would he just spend his energy?
Right.
And,
if he can't succeed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's important to know, like, that's just not true. Like I had someone say to me one time, like, you're not a very good mom. Like, you just make your kids do all the chores. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm so sad that you obviously have no idea what it is to be a mom, that you think having kids do 2 chores a day means there's nothing left for me.
Right. Like, if only you could have your kids do all the chores.
Oh my gosh. Right. Like, I'm sorry you feel that way. That is really not true. Or like, one of my older kids, when they would get in a really bad mental space, they would just say, you're a horrible mother. And I would be like, I am so sorry. You're in such a bad place that's what your mind is telling you, because we all know that's not true. Am I the best mom in the entire world? No, of course not.
Right.
But a horrible mother? No, absolutely not.
Exactly.
And we'll come back a couple days later, like, I'm so sorry I said that. I'm like, honey, it's not even true. It doesn't even bother me, because I'm like, it's more about how terrible of a place you're in that you're willing to say that to me.
Exactly.
When I know he doesn't even believe it.
I know. I just had a very similar conversation with one of my kids recently, who was being very judgmental about Bill and I about something in our parenting. And he was,
it's really fun when our kids judge us about how we parent other kids.
When they've never been even an adult.
I know.
And later he was like, I'm really sorry. And I said, I forgive you, but I'm like, really, I'm more sad for you. I'm sad that you are in an arrogant place, that you as a young person can look at me and say, I know better than you. That makes me sad for you. It does not hurt my feelings, because what you're judging me about, you know nothing about. Like, you don't know all the ins and outs, and you don't see the big picture. And so yes, exactly. Getting to a place with our hurt feelings where we can just really know when things are said that just aren't true. And walking away from it. That's So obviously we're almost out of time.
I would think that would be a really great challenge. So I would say 3 things you can walk away with. Like, 1, when someone hurts your feelings, like if they literally say something bad about you, like, ask, is that even true? If it's not true, don't give it. Ask God. What did I say?
We just said ask, and I'm just
ask yourself. Yeah. Is that even true? Right. No, if someone's like, you're a selfish mother, maybe ask God, is there truth in that?
Right.
But if someone's
especially if it's someone you trust.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously ask, is that even true? So if it's not true, you can just move on, but ask God. So not just ask yourself, ask both. 2, what is the person's intent and character? That matters. Like, if you know their intent is not to hurt you, that has to be taken into account. And then the third one is, does any of this, whatever this is, the situation, does it even change my character? Or, does it even change my worth?
Yes,
it's like,
exactly.
The answer is it doesn't, but we have to remind ourselves of that regularly.
Yep. Yeah. I like those 3 questions. All right.
Good.
Well, we did it, even though it was really early and we hadn't slept hardly at all. Why both of us didn't sleep at the same night when we don't even live near each other, I don't know, but
yeah, exactly. Well, we hope you guys have a great day. We'd love to hear from you on social media and what you're learning and all that stuff. So
yes. And don't forget to share us with everybody.
That's correct.
Thanks,
and
guys.
Rate us on Spotify and Facebook and Apple Podcasts, or one or the other. One of them.
Yes. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
You might feel that your life is a mess, but don't feel bad. Ours is too, but we own a microphone and we have no shame. That's why we'll talk about how our life is a mess nonetheless. That's the name of our podcast.